Bill had never been fitted for irons before, and the irons that he did have, they were a little bit of a mixed match of different lengths and even different shafts that were in there, so there wasn't a great deal of consistency in even the build of the clubs. From a ball flight perspective, tends to hit most things right to left, quite a low spin player, so the ball flight tends to be quite flat. So really what we're looking to try and do was soften the shape out a little bit, get a bit more consistency in there. If we get a little bit more distance, great. One of the key things that Bill really liked about his own irons was the smaller kind of bladed look, so the slightly thinner top line. He'd seen some things that were a little bit thicker and hadn't really liked them. So we looked initially at the different iron models that we're offering in the 714, the MB, the CB, AP2 and AP1, and we had a real liking for the AP2 head, which is a tour inspired shape. You know, a lot of guys on tour are using the AP2s because of the thin top line, that short blade length. So we looked at a few different lengths first of all to see what we were going to get with regards to consistency, and we looked at a slightly longer than standard shaft to get the most consistent strike on the club face. It was pretty apparent early on that the ball flight Bill was getting was still quite strong right to left, so when we looked at his lie angle, we established we needed to make it a little bit flatter to really try and soften that out a little bit. So once we had the length right and the lie angle right, we looked at a few different shaft options for him, and it worked out the Dynamic Gold S300 gave Bill the best feeling in terms of stability, but also consistency in terms of shots. So we saw a real improvement with the AP2 versus his current irons, an increase in distance, but definitely a better ball flight. Higher flying with the longer irons, so able to get a little bit better stopping power, but a little bit of a lower flight with the shorter irons, which is really what Bill was looking for. The added forgiveness of AP2 with the high MOI, with the weight being in the toe and the heel, really helped in terms of consistency on the misses as well. So he saw overall much more consistency in terms of distance control.
My iron play would be strong enough, I'd be happy with my iron play, but I found that the flight was a high right to left, and when it went wrong, it kicked way left and it kind of was exaggerated, and then when I didn't connect with the blades I was using, I kind of pushed it right and came up short. Graham picked up on this straight away after a few shots, and he gave me a choice of heads to look at and then a choice of shafts, and on the stats and on the sheet, on the TrackMan, it seemed to be taking all this back to a more consistent flight, a consistent miss if you call it, or hit. Never been fitted before, so I came with an open mind and nervousness, because you know yourself, you're getting your game looked at and everything. The fitting is absolutely amazing. So first of all, you're showing the heads to see which you kind of like the look of, and then we varied through the shafts and then the lofts and the lies, and you just learn so much about the way you're hitting the ball yourself when you look at it on the screen, and you learn so much about your game. It's actually frightening. I realised that I didn't know anything about how I struck a ball. I knew I hit it decent, but how or what reaction was happening, I didn't know until today. I had no expectations as such, because I said, as I was telling Graham at the start, the most important thing for me is looking at the top line on the club. When I look down at the club, it's important to me. So he showed me them and we worked with that. Again, hitting the ball flight seems better. So from coming with no expectations and not knowing what to expect, I feel very, very happy and confident. Yeah, I'm confident going away of, you know, I should be able to control the ball better and hit it better, hopefully.